Hey there, my friends. Today I want to talk about some of the nonsense that you might find yourself stumbling upon if you are considering starting a business. And what I mean by the nonsense you might stumble upon is I know we are in a world now where AI, technology, ChatGPT, and all the other forms of AI support have inundated us and where they oftentimes, like, we can use them to be helpful. But I think too many people are leaning on them for all of their answers. And I'm going to show you exactly today what I'm talking about. And I really, really, really want to set the record straight because the information that you may be reviewing out there may be the thing that deters you from getting started in this business. And we're in a world now where we can be overwhelmed by information, we can be overwhelmed by possibilities. But the reality is, you have to put in the work to get clients. And I want to set the record straight because the information that you may be reading, a lot of it is unnecessary for you to get started. And I want to make sure that if you want to start a small business, whether you want to stay as a one person show and you want to do this more as a side gig, as a side hustle, or maybe starting a concierge business has always just been something you've been talking to your besties about. And now's the time you want to dive in. So I want to share with you what happened when I Googled how to start a concierge business. And I want to show you the nonsense that you might read. And I want to set the record straight about what is relevant and what isn't relevant at all. All right. So stay with me. I know I'm fired up today. So let me pull up my screen for you. So here is what I found when I Googled how to start a concierge business. Okay, how to start a concierge business. And these were the answers that AI gave me. To start a concierge business, you need to define your niche, conduct market research, and develop a solid business plan. Here's what I want to tell you. Defining your niche, yes, I completely agree that you should pick a niche. The only reason why I say to pick a niche, and your niche can be who you help, the niche could be your town, the niche could be what services you offer, okay? But you want to limit, and by limit, I don't mean to limit yourself from possibilities, but I want you to limit and focus your focus so that when you start talking about your business, it's easier for people to understand what it is that you do. And I'm actually going to link to this video right here that I'm going to share with you in the description where I'm talking about also why defining your niche is so important. Okay, conduct market research. Here's the market research that I did. I'm going to help people. That was my market research. I did not put a lot of time in it. Trust me that there are people out there right now who are looking for help. People need help, whether they need help with organizing their house, downsizing clutter, getting ready to move, manage decades worth of paperwork, help with their elderly parents, help with their households, help in their businesses. People are needing help. You do not need to do and spend months doing market research. A solid business plan. Yes, you need a solid business plan if you're going out to a bank and you're looking for big loans. Like you want to get a big small business loan. In that case, you may need a solid business plan. My solid business plan was this. Are you ready, friends? Here we go. I am going to do some shit for some people. That was my business plan. I wanted to help people in my local community and I was going to do stuff for them that I was good at. I did find out there were things that people asked me to do that I was terrible at, that I never offered to do again. But a solid business plan is not what you think it has to be. Okay, so here's a more detailed breakdown. Define your niche and services. Yes, I 100% think that this is the best thing you should do. You're going to define your niche and the services. Conduct market research. We already talked about that, poppycock. Create a solid business plan. We already talked about that, poppycock. Choose a business structure. You do not need to choose a business structure to start your business, because here's the reality. When you start your business, you don't need an LLC. You don't need a C Corp. You do not need an S Corp. All you need to do is start your business. You need to register with your state, and then you start your business. You do not need to have a business entity, a legal structure. Your business structure looks like who you help, what you do, and how you're charging. That's your business structure. Picking an LLC is a entity. It is how you want to be taxed as a business. So you don't even know how you want to be taxed in the beginning, because you don't even know how much money you're going to be making. You might make 5K that first year. You might make 75K that first year. You don't know. And there are tax implications for every level of your business. That is what an accountant is for. But to start your business, you do not need that. Obtain licenses and permits. You don't need licenses and permits for a typical concierge business. If you are offering services where you're going to maybe help seniors, depending on the services that you're going to offer, you may need to have some type of licensing if you are using a professional license. If you are a nurse and you are using your professional license, then you may need to have a specific license if you're using that license in your business. But most of us that start concierge businesses, we're not working in that realm. And people get caught up by this. You don't need that. Develop your brand and online presence. Your brand is you. You do not need a professional name, logo, and website. 90% of your clients are going to come from word of mouth, from the people that you talk to. They're not going to come through your website. Do you want to have a website? Maybe, perhaps down the line. Do you need to do that to start your business? I have said this over and over again. You do not need a website to start your business. Most people put months into getting a website up and running to start their business. And next thing you know, 1 year, 2 years go down the line, and they reach out to me and they're like, Kelly, I've been in business for 2 years and I have no clients. I said, what did you do to build your business? I spent 8 months and $2,000 building a website. I'm like, that's their first problem. You do not need a website to start the business. To start the business, you have to have a desire to help people. You want to know who you help and what you do. That's your niche and your services, and how you're going to charge people. Okay, that is it. Yes, do you want to have insurance to protect yourself? Of course. But needing a name or a logo or a website is not necessary. Use your name while you're figuring out a name. Use your name before you figure out a logo. My husband and I created my logo myself back before Canva existed. Literally, we spent a couple nights coming up with my logo. It wasn't the best, but guess what? I got clients anyway, because nobody said, I can't hire you because I don't like your logo. Establish operational systems for communication, scheduling, billing, and client management. Sure, if you plan on starting a business where you're going to have a global impact and you're going to have a global business where you are going to need a lot of upfront cash, yes. But 99.999% of us who start these types of businesses, you don't need this in the beginning. You don't even know how to do any of this until you go out there and you start getting your first paying clients. Network and build partnerships. Yes, networking is done both professionally and it's done in a more relaxed way. Professionally, when you join chambers of commerces and business groups and business communities so that you can get your name out there. And then also from the people that already exist in your world, your neighbors, your friends, your hairdressers, the moms at the PTA. That is networking. Building partnerships is going to feel uncomfortable in the beginning because you're not even sure what you're doing yet, let alone being able to build a partnership. Leave the building the partnerships till later, but yes, the networking. Launch and acquire clients. Well, obviously, AI, obviously. So you want to start marketing to attract your initial clients. Correct. provide exceptional service, and build strong reputation through word of mouth referrals. Correct. I will also tell you though, learning how to ask for referrals is an important skill set that you will want to learn. And ongoing management. Continually evaluate your business performance and make adjustments as needed. Yes, of course you're going to do that. That's what you'll sit down and you'll be like, okay, I'm doing these things in my marketing. What's working? What's not working? What will I do differently next time? Stay up to date with industry trends and continue to refine your services and your marketing strategies. So, to be honest here, I don't think there are a lot of huge industry trends other than this industry keeps growing and growing and growing. But for example, there is a trend that has happened over about the past 6, 7 years. When I first started my business, one of the most sought after services that I had was grocery shopping. Okay. But then in the past several years, we've had things like Instacart and other food delivery systems put in place, right? So that's a trend that actually had our businesses shift some. However, there is still a gap in the community where there are people, let's say aging adults, seniors, people who are not tech savvy, who either don't know how to use things like Instacart or honestly are afraid to use things like Instacart and other online food platforms. Those people still need your help. So even though we don't have a lot of big trends that actually change in this industry, there are some that come and go that will have you shift. And I remember years ago, I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago, actually it was during COVID when a lot of people were afraid that they should shut their business down because their businesses were going to close during COVID. But what's funny is during COVID, grocery shopping became again one of the number one sought after services because people were either afraid to leave their homes, they didn't want to go out because they were afraid to bring home the virus to their families and to their loved ones. So don't put all your stock in like staying up to date on trends. Put your time into reaching out into your community, talking to people, building relationships. This is how your business is going to grow. And 90% of what that article shows is poppycock. And so if you've read those online reports and you thought that those were all the things you have to do, friends, you do not. Okay, thank you so much for being here with me today on my rant. If there was something in this video that really, like, maybe you went down one of those rabbit holes and then you found yourself, I would love it if you would actually put it in the comments so that other people who watch this video can learn from your comments. For example, I have a lot of people in my Fully Booked Business Club who they come in and I'm like, okay, listen, these are the things we're going to work on. These are the things we're going to do and focus on. Don't put your time in building the website right now. And what happens is they're secretly behind the scenes building the website. And then 6 months, 8 months later, when they start getting clients, they're like, oh my God, Kelly, you were so right. It wasn't the website. I should have never put my time into building that website. Not in the beginning, right? So if you've done something or went down a rabbit hole and it did not work for you, leave it in the comments so that the rest of the community can learn from you. And if you want some like real truth telling, grab a copy of my book, The Concierge Life. In here, I am literally giving you the exact marketing that I used and still use today. As a matter of fact, friends, I use some of the same marketing in here now in my coaching business, okay? Because what happens is there is timeless business principles and then there are like hot button business principles and the next leading big thing. And I am telling you, those are the trends that you should try your best to stay away from because they come and go. I could sit here and tell you another hour's worth of all the things that I was told I had to do and I should do and all the platforms I should be on. And every time I was like, I don't think I want to be there. I don't think I need to be there. And in fact, these platforms go kaput within the next 6 to 18 months. Trust that it's easier than you think it is, and it's also harder than you think it is, because it is hard to put yourself out there, talking to strangers, asking for money to do things that you're probably right now already doing for free. All right, my friends, thank you so much for being here with me for my rant today. Love you all. Can't wait to see you in the next video.